Welcome, everybody, to the Slack on Flicks podcast. I'm your host, film critic, and 16 News Now producer, Benjamin Slack, on this very special second episode in 1 week. Well, we are sadly heading towards the end of the summer blockbuster season in 2025. The potential Oscar-nominated films are going to be coming out pretty soon, which is always exciting, but gone is going to be the hype and excitement when these big-budget, action-packed, laugh-out-loud comedies flicks are going to be hitting the big screen. But, of course, there's always next year, too, and we do have potential films coming out next year, like Supergirl and Spider-Man Brand New Day to look forward to. And I can easily say that this year, 2025, was easily the best blockbuster season that I have experienced so far as a film critic. F1 the movie, is probably one of the best films of the year so far, and easily Brad Pitt's best performance since his Oscar win in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood in 2019. Megan 2.0 was a critical flop and didn't really work well with most of its fan base. I, on the other hand, thought it was an interesting approach and made for some laughs, well-written character arcs, and captured the campiness that the first film managed to capture as well. I Know What You Did Last Summer accomplished the task of introducing new likable characters to carry on the cult classic series for a new audience, and it's on its way to having a fourth film greenlit at this time. This brings us to the topic of today's show, the films that everyone, including myself, was counting down towards ever since they were respectively announced. They say that things come in threes. Well, these films came in twos. We had two superhero films from competitive companies their respective fans were waiting for, and they managed to capture all the things that their subjects stand for. Two horror movies are gaining mainstream attention due to their unique stories and playout structures and aftermath. And two comedy sequels that truly put the words legacy in the term legacy sequel. Now, I'd like to bring in my special guest today. I've talked about many different films just now, and this guy sitting across from me has seen probably about most of them, and he's competing for a tie for the number of movies I've seen this summer. In fact, we went to go see one of these films earlier this week. Now, you might not have seen his face, but you definitely know his work from 16 News Now. Let's bring in photographer Kevin Sholley. Kevin, welcome to the show, dude.
Appreciate you for having me. It's great to be here, man.
That's awesome. Ever since I've launched this podcast, I've been wanting to bring you onto the show because you are just a funny guy. You are a blast to work with, and whenever there is something in the newsroom, you always manage to bring some type of humor to it. But for those people who don't know you right now, why don't you explain to us what you do here for 16 News Now?
My name's Kevin, as you guys heard. I do photojournalism here, video, interviews, kind of stuff like that, editing. Born and raised in South Bend, so went to school for film. So this kind of right up my alley. I love this kind of stuff, and it's really great to be able to talk about it. Be on the screen once in a while.
That's awesome, dude. Now, I was saying before, you've seen nearly every film that I've named just now, and except for one of them, though. Why don't you explain to me what is the one film of the blockbuster scene that you have not seen this far?
I have not seen Freakier Friday.
Freakier Friday. Wow.
I have not yet. I have not seen
it.
Oh,
not yet. So you do plan on seeing it then?
Maybe come streaming, maybe. I don't know if I'll see it in theaters. Yeah.
Got that Disney Plus subscription?
I got some friends that got it. I might check it out with them.
Have you seen the original?
Yes, I have. I actually loved it. It was a really good movie,
All right. Nothing. Honestly, I think the body swap genre is one of the most hilarious subgenres there are of comedy. It has so much potential to it, and you can always bring a lot of heart. And if I could step away solo for a quick moment, I do have to say, while the movie did end up being good in the end and lays some pretty good groundwork to be a potentially better sequel, it still falls short following the swap and loses its focus due to distracting story elements and repetitive hit-or-miss jokes. This, in effect, caused the beautiful heart of the original to almost be lost near the end, but in the end, it's still a fun trip down nostalgia lane and could make for a good night for somebody looking for some good laughs in the end. Highly recommend checking it out, Kevin.
I got you. I'm going to try it.
Awesome. Now, we got to talk about the film that me, you, fellow photographer Daniel Hochstetler, and web producer Spencer Beeler went to go see, and that was Weapons from Warner Brothers Pictures, directed by the man who brought us Barbarian. What were your initial thoughts of the film?
First thoughts, I think it was a well done movie. Oh,
that's my card for you right there.
I think it was
just lost my way to get into the studio.
Hey man, it's gonna get locked out mid podcast. That's tough.
Well, at least you're here, so hopefully you can let me back in.
I got my card on me. You know that.
Awesome.
I think when it comes to Weapons, I think I had a different mindset going into it. Thought a lot more social commentary would be at play. Wasn't expecting the supernatural route. You know, I thought it was going to be a little like, you know, oh, this is kind of supposed to be representing this, but it seemed very much standoffish on, no, supernatural, this is going to be, you know, stuff of spookiness and stuff like that.
So, like, overall, like, what would you probably rate the film then?
I would give it, not based on my earlier expectations, I would give it a solid 8.
Solid 8,
Yeah,
okay.
maybe 7.9, 8.
Okay. That probably should have been the last question I asked, but I gotta ask then, what was your favorite element of the film? Like, did you have a certain part that you liked?
I personally really love the way that they utilized character-driven storylines to kind of piece everything, weave it together. You know, they go from one character, they show basically the movie through their eyes. It's like a POV with different characters until the climatic end where you know, they all come together and then you're viewing it from one screen, you know.
Almost like an anthology film in a way.
Yes.
Yeah, those are always good. Yeah, I thought the premise was really intriguing and it played out in a very well-crafted storyline from a filmmaking standpoint. But however, I gotta say, I think about halfway through, that premise felt almost dropped because we started focusing on characters and story elements that didn't really become relevant. It was probably about in the last half hour where it finally picked up again, captured that uneasy feeling of what the film ended up being in the end. And all in all, I actually thought it was actually pretty decent. 8 out of 10, I can definitely see that. If you guys haven't read my full review, make sure you do that by going to WNDU.com, of course. But Kevin, I'm glad you liked it too.
Yeah, I think they had, like, the hook had me the very beginning, you know, this is a story that no one talks about. They kind of get into it, you know, they kind of let you know no one is going to talk about this after we explain what happened. And I like how they go from that and they start to kind of show the unease. They kind of show the mental health side of it where people are showing their anger and what real life tragedy kind of brings with these situations. Just wasn't the way I expected it to go. But overall, I really enjoyed basically like the journey through the movie.
That's cool.
You know, and that's the most important part of most movies, you know, is did you enjoy your watching experience throughout?
Now, there's one more film, I mean, shouldn't say one more film, we're not talking about one more film, but one more horror film to be exact, that is really capturing mainstream attention. I think it is honestly one of the best films of the year. It's one of the best reviews I've written all year. I mean, like, from a grade standpoint, I'm not trying to compliment my own work, of course. Kevin providing the laugh track right there.
Come on.
But that movie is Together, and Kevin, I completely forgot to say this, but you saw 3 movies in one day, and you went and saw Together right after Weapons. How was that aftermath? You went from Weapons, which was a very intriguing storyline that left you pretty uneasy at the end, all the way into the mind craziness that was Together. That is very really psychological affecting.
Yeah, it really pushed your limits to imagine what a human body can do.
Right.
I genuinely think that was my biggest, like, surprise, happy, like, I'm so glad that I went to go see it in theaters. It was like one of those things where I didn't really expect much out of it. You know, the premise seemed pretty easy enough, you know, Together.
Simple horror film, you know, 2 people living in a cabin in the woods.
You know.
Creepy element they come across. But then it takes a total turn about halfway through.
I'll say the chemistry between the actors. And,
Dave Franco and Allison Brie.
It was really, I would say, probably one of my favorite of the year.
Well, did you know that they're married in real life?
I found that out after you told me. I did not know that, but it makes a lot of sense how good they were.
That's why their chemistry was so spark, because they were channeling that real world relationship in there.
Yeah, you can really tell that they really didn't have to fake being in relationships or like, and it really brings like the realness. And you can relate so much to certain situations, even dumb ones, like just waking up and trying to accomplish making breakfast. Something like that. You can easily you could feel the realness and know that they were really committed to this part. I love the movie.
Definitely. Yeah, I thought it had really clever writing that was able to drag out in a perfectly timed overall film at under 2 hours. And the overall arc that some may consider predictable was enjoyable nonetheless. And honestly, I think it makes for a great movie to watch on a stormy, rainy night. And then from there, you went in a completely different world from there, and you ended up going to watch the new Naked Gun film. You gotta tell me about this.
Yes, I decided to get less. I get more and more away from the scary horror aspect as my triple feature day went through, and I landed upon the Naked Gun.
Oh my goodness!
And I believe it was the winner of the day when it comes to just outward enjoyment. You actually could laugh out loud. You know, you could kind of just the whole theater kind of if someone laughed, it wasn't like a why are they laughing? It was more like them laughing makes me want to laugh more at this scene. And it was just a great back and forth. They really like push the narrative that this is the spoof movies that you guys love. This is the Naked Gun, if you know what I mean.
Well, I think it really embodied the legacy of the Naked Gun series, because a lot of people don't know this. I don't know if you know it as well, but this is the 4th film in the Naked Gun series, picking up nearly 30 years after Naked Gun 33 1/3.
I did not know that.
It is, yeah.
Wow.
Well, they make mention to it too, but Liam Neeson's character, Frank Drebin Jr., is the son of the original stars of the original franchise, Leslie Nielsen's Frank Drebin in there. They do that little scene in there that's in the trailers and everything, you know, like, hi, Dad, miss you.
You don't feel any type of, like, awkward transition between bits or even, you know, of course, they always have to have a running gag. Me personally, like, I love a good running gag. I understood the running gag. For some people, like, I was sitting next to like an older gentleman. He was dying every time they did the gag, even though you knew it was coming. He would think it was the first time he saw the joke, and moments like that make going to the theater worth it. I know people say so you can stream, you can just you can't watch The Naked Gun at home alone and get that same experience as
it's a group watch.
It definitely is, and. I can say that the people in there made it a lot more fun and enjoyable to watch.
Well, I got to be honest. I'm glad that when we walked to the podcast booth, I told you, have a seat. You didn't just take the seat and walk away like Pamela Anderson did.
Yeah, you know, the use of literal like sentences always gets me, because you're like, oh no, I have one at home, and you just gotta laugh out loud because you're like, yeah, you definitely have a chair at home. I would assume that.
That must have been quite the joke. Man's laughter.
You just re-saying these scenes is making me think back to like just the beginning when the whole movie premise is plot device. And you just got to be like...
just got to go with it.
This is perfect. This is just how you start the movie. They were unapologetic to what they were, and it kind of gave me like throwback vibes to like when I saw Airplane for the first time. And I'll never forget that, you know, that moment when they're smacking each other in a big line, and the references that was used throughout other mediums from that one movie. I can see people using a lot of the scenes that happened in this single movie in future media.
Well, they're speaking of Airplane right there, the guys that made Airplane also made the Naked Gun series. They found potential with Leslie Nielsen, who was a very serious actor at the time, by the time they made Airplane, because that was the thing with Airplane and the Naked Gun. They took all these actors and actresses that like were huge, serious stars, Oscar winners, and they put them in this laugh out loud spoof of a comedy that made fun of not only like police films at the time, but like law enforcement in general. And then to learn that they were going to actually bring it back with Liam Neeson of all guys, which honestly followed the same format, taking a very serious actor known for like, you know, Taken and stuff like that, and that he was going to play this type of role, which is from Seth MacFarlane, who created Family Guy and Ted. That's comedy gold right there, I think. And I think everybody in the film nailed their part perfectly. It was a perfectly captured what the original series was all about while introducing it to a new audience. Kind of like what I Know What You Did Last Summer managed to do.
Yep, I 100% agree. It was just they knew what they wanted to do. They had the serious actors. I genuinely think it makes any movie better when you have people that you would not expect in that role to just absolutely go and just blow it out of the water.
Downright hilarious.
You know, they you know, their reason why people love seeing them in movies, and it doesn't. I don't think it matters what movie they're in. If you're really got that, oh, you're gonna be great in every movie you're in. I think that you can make a movie 10 times more memorable just by one scene than people will remember about the plot itself.
Well, we are going to move on now to the two films that many people, including myself, were counting down to ever since they were announced more than probably 3 years ago. And the first one is the first appearance of Marvel's first family into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the Fantastic Four First Steps. Now, Kevin, are you a Fantastic Four fan?
I love the 2005 one.
Me too.
I understand, hey, don't kill the messenger. I understand that a lot of like comic book loyalists did not like that film.
And I don't see why. I think it hammered in the family aspect of what the Fantastic Four are really supposed to be to a T. Casting was great too.
I think it was really just the fact that it was so early 2000 vibes, the product placement, the paparazzi being like a major key point, kind of like the early Spider-Mans. It's just like you can see the early 2000s like New York aesthetic,
you see the early 2000s references.
Yes, and they are not afraid to show that.
Yeah.
They so I feel like people that are like, well, this family's from the 60s and and you're like, I don't like this, because it was a very modern take on the Fantastic Four, I think.
But either way, Fantastic Four First Steps, I honestly think it really presented the themes of family and sticking together in the darkest of times perfectly. It really hammered in that family aspect of what the Fantastic Four are. Honestly, a lot better than the 2005 film, although I do have a personal connection with the 2025 film. But I think the movie hammered in on those themes, and it culminated in such a thrilling climax in a battle between the Fantastic Four and the Devourer of Worlds, Galactus. It was so powerful that it honestly made other Marvel fans like myself, I don't know about you, I teared up a little bit, man.
You could feel the emotions going through the scenes.
Yeah.
They really drove home the fact, family and what you would do for family, the love that you hold for your loved ones, and how, the whole world, they wanted something to happen, and, they were like, we're going to find a way to go and save the world without that.
They're not going to let that personal object get in the way of their entire world. It's one, they care about that object, but they also care about the world. So they are going to truly be heroes, save their world, and keep their lives as perfect as they were before the Silver Surfer arrived.
Yeah.
Which, actually, did you actually recognize Julia Gardner, who played the Silver Surfer in Fantastic Four First Steps? Did you recognize her as the star in Weapons?
Absolutely not. When I saw that online, they were talking about, oh, it's the same actress. I was just like, she didn't look silver in the other movie, so it was kind of hard for me to tell. I don't know. I didn't look at silver, so didn't have a board either. Was kind of confused.
Fantastic Four First Steps, you thought was a win?
I think it was. I know that we all know my take on super. I like the more gritty ones. I like the ones where there's a lot more there's big collateral damage happens in the movie.
So like a Man of Steel type thing?
Yeah, people, there's injuries, there's casualties, there's actual threat, people, real life things, if this is someone that can destroy a city or world happens, people are going to get hurt. It's not going to end well. It's still, you're going to have trauma, and the people that live there are going to have to rebuild from that. And, I do enjoy a good movie. It's just that I'm so used to the earlier renditions of movies and superhero movies where there's a lot more sadness in them.
Well, we grew up in that time too, because you got to remember when we were growing up. I mean, obviously we had the Christopher Nolan Dark Knight trilogy. Spider-Man, while it did stay a bit lighthearted, it was trying to interpret that darker route with the Mark Webb's Amazing Spider-Man films. Of course, we got Man of Steel in 2013, which capped off the DCEU, which was a lot more dark and grittier version of the Justice League characters.
Yeah, no.
Which actually ended up being a perfect segue into our final topic right here, the summer blockbuster that is almost on the verge of making billions at this time, and is definitely a good launching point for a new franchise, Superman. Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong. Did you say was it your favorite film this year, or was it your least favorite film this year?
At first, before I like Superman because of Mr. Terrific. So I think it was Superman itself. I don't know if I'm bugging, but it wasn't what I expected. Because again, remember the movies I grew up watching of Superman. It was a lot. The dog. There's so much. It's just wasn't.
Are you lost for words, man?
Yeah, it wasn't exactly my favorite, but I like it more now that time has gone on.
Okay.
I definitely enjoy it more now that I've seen more superhero movies. That had the same vibe. The characters were really great in those movies. I think the dog, you
Crypto.
know me. At first, because I don't know a lot of backstories to some of the superheroes, I'm going based on the movie. I was very confused on why the dog was so
relevant in the plot.
Yeah, and also why he was such a kind of like a struggling,
Not a good dog.
Not a good, not helping very much. Into certain scenes he was helping, but it's like, man, he's a menace. That is a menace of a dog.
Well, he brought in some good laughs though, so they accomplished that. And without
true.
spoiling anything, he actually did become relevant into the plot and what's going to be coming next.
Oh, he definitely made up. Was a little more useful, but man. At the beginning, I was so annoyed. I was like, man, this dog is like, he might as well be one of the villains. The way this dog is moving around.
Oh my God.
I said, wow, he's really one of one. He's one of one. He's definitely one. I don't know if he's the one, but he's definitely one. He's definitely one on one. That dog was something else. I almost was like, hey, Superman might have to fight the dog too. The way the dog moved. They were.
Can you imagine a battle between Crypto and Cujo?
I think it would end bad for Cujo. I'm not gonna lie. It would end very badly. That dog, they had him built stronger. That dog was strong.
Well, Crypto was a Kryptonian dog, so I think. Well, number one, I don't think I'd want him jumping on my lap because I don't need no bones breaking.
Pelvis gone.
You're right. But all in all, I think Superman, it truly was an animated superhero series brought into live action and embodied everything that Superman really stands for and presented it in a perfectly balanced film that set up the rest of the DC universe by James Gunn and Peter Safran, while also maintaining its focus and narrative on the central character and the central plot. It wasn't what Marvel movies are beginning to struggle with, but with setting up the future while also trying to keep its story in. James Gunn, I think, knocked it out of the park he got us excited for what's going to be coming next in the franchise, but he also managed to keep that story pinpointed on the Man of Steel. He was our main character. And I'm going to mention it right now. I think David Cornsweet is probably the second best live-action Superman that I have seen on screen. Second only behind the iconic Christopher Reeve.
I wouldn't disagree.
Right.
I think we definitely agree on that. As much as I was talking about the movie, I generally think it was probably one of the best live action Superman movies I've seen outside, obviously the original ones. But it kind of gave me the definitely the animated version vibes,
right,
like how good DC is with those.
I'm just hoping that the rest of the DCU can follow into that same format. I'm hoping that we can get a Batman and a Wonder Woman that are just as perfectly well cast as David Cornsweet was. And in fact, Wonder Woman is actually trying to be casted as we speak right now. So I'm very interested to see who is going to land that iconic role.
Got any guesses?
Goodness, man, you turned this interview on me now. Honestly, I honestly don't really know. There's I can't think of her name right now, but there was an actress in the final season of Cobra Kai that I think would actually fit the bill. Well, Kevin Sholley, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, dude. I'd like to have you back again. And hopefully when more of the photographers see this, hopefully they'll be intrigued to come onto the show as well.
Oh, yeah.
Kevin, thank you so much for joining us, dude. Have a good rest of your night, man.
Thank you. You too.
Well, that's going to bring this edition of Slack on Flicks, the podcast, to a close. Thank you guys so much. You can see my full reviews for all the movies we discussed by going to WNDU.com and going onto the entertainment tab. I will see you guys all next week to look back and review Nobody 2. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a good rest of your day or week whenever you watch this.